Hey folks, Shawn Kimbro here with SP Light Tackle. We're here with another installation from Angler's Whiskey Cellar right here in my shop on Kent Island. And today I've got two special guests, Ed and Kelly Woods. Welcome to the shop.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us back.
So I asked Ed and Kelly because they know as much about whiskey as pretty much anybody I know. And Kelly have been friends for a long time. I met them through fishing, but we soon found out that we have other interests in common as well. Ed is an ex-Terp, University of Maryland basketball player. I think on a Sweet 16 team even, and now owns an IT company called Terpsys, and they do a lot of philanthropic work around the area as well as some of the best IT work anywhere. And Kelly has become quite a whiskey expert herself. You guys have traveled all over, haven't you? Tell us about some of your trips.
We have. I mean, if they make it, we go. I mean, we started out in Kentucky, and that was the place to be, it seemed, when we realized that we were going to get into this as a hobby more than anything. I don't know that it started out as a hobby actually, but we've been to Scotland to try that. We've been all over the United States, and it has really introduced us to a lot of people and tastes and flavors and things we never knew.
Oh,
we would like.
Well, thank you all for sharing some of the stuff that you picked up along the way with me.
Sure.
You know, even though you've traveled all over the world tasting some of the best whiskey in the world, you didn't have to travel far to try what we're going to sample tonight. Anglers was nice enough to bring from their whiskey cellar some Sagamore Spirit rye. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, the good news is it's right up the road in Baltimore. I highly suggest everyone go and visit the distillery. It's a beautiful distillery, a beautiful surrounding right on the water. They do have a restaurant up there as well that is highly acclaimed, and we've visited that as well. But yeah, they make some very, very good rye whiskey, and this is the flagship, the 83 proof. And that's what we have in our glass. We're gonna sample that.
Now they have other expressions of their rye whiskey as well, don't they? I noticed that you brought some other stuff from your collection to show us here, and Anglers has some of this, and maybe stocking some more in the future. And one that you let me try just recently is this Manhattan finish. Oh man, that was really good. Aged in Manhattan barrels, I guess.
Well, they kind of had vermouth barrels and bitter barrels that had bitters in them, and then some cherry brandy, and then they aged all the rye in there and then mixed it together. And so that's what they're kind of doing with this Distiller's Select, which is kind of mostly available in our area, but also all around. I think Texas is probably the #2 seller of it, but they are doing a great job with experimenting with different kinds of finishes. So they take the standard high rye, low rye mixture of whiskey that they have, and then they try to make something fun and new out of it. So let's try what the standard, as I said, flagship.
Let's see what we think about the flagship.
It's 83 proof. It kind of is like, 83 in Baltimore, driving up.
Are they distilling this in Baltimore?
They are not.
Yeah, it's not.
They are distilling in Baltimore, but not this.
I see.
So what this is, without being too complicated, it's a mash bill that they buy from a place in Indiana called MGP. They have a standard 95.5 rye, meaning 95% rye, 5% malted, and then they have their own, which they created, so it's contracted. So they're making it to their specifications, but there. So then they have these two whiskeys, they blend them together, and that's the real art form of it, is figuring out how they're going to blend those two together and how they're going to age them, and then they come up with this Maryland style rye. So a Maryland style rye has a lot of corn in it. So their second component is a 52% barely legal rye, as they like to say. Yeah. So it has a lot of corn in it, and that gives it a little bit of a sweeter flavor.
More Maryland style rye,
chewy
as opposed to
rye, 100% Pennsylvania.
Well, let's try it. See what we think.
The other thing about the corn mash bill of this is they talk about fruit, get a little more fruity expression, and I definitely get that from the glass.
I would make one suggestion. If you feel like they started in 2016, I believe, in Baltimore, producing or distributing this. If you tasted some a couple of years ago, revisit it now, because all of the stock is getting older. It's changing dramatically. I recently discovered that with this double oak that apparently Anglers has as well. They've really played around with the mash bill of it, or not the mash bill, but with the time that it has spent in the second barrels.
I see.
And the flavor has changed just fantastic. It's getting better and better and better every year, in my opinion. So
It's delightful. It's really,
I
really good.
I think it's worth revisiting every few months.
Well, I'm originally from Tennessee, and we like our corn whiskey in Tennessee, and either legal or illegal. And so I kind of I get that corn immediately. I can pick that corn out right away, so I can tell that it's more of a Maryland style rye. But there's a little bit of a sweet finish, and it's almost like. I don't know. My wife makes gingerbread cookies during the holidays, and I get a little gingerbread in that.
It is indeed proofed down. So the proof on this is 83, like I said. So when it comes out of the barrel, it is not 83. So they use water from their farm, the Sagamore farm that used to be the Vanderbilt farm up in Baltimore, Hunt Valley area. And they truck that water down a couple of times a week, I think. And that is what they proof the water down with. So it does have a Maryland component in it, which is their limestone spring-fed water there at Sagamore. So
that's great. All right, so thank you all for joining us, and I hope you'll come back next month, and we'll make some cocktails. All right? Okay, let's do that. So they have this now at Anglers Whiskey Cellar. So don't forget to stop by, say hello to Kristen when you're there, and see what she's got on the shelf. You never know what you might find.